From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening and welcome to the broadcast. I'm Daryl Clark. Our top story this evening: tomorrow, the Alaska House of Representatives is scheduled for a concurrence vote on HB 256, the state operating budget, which was returned from the Senate earlier this week. The Senate version of the spending plan cuts just over $60 million from what the House had passed last week. The state faces a near $4 billion budget gap. The Senate version of HB 256 restores about $25 million to the university system, money that was cut by the House. The House is expected to reject concurrence with the bill during tomorrow's floor session, which will send it to a conference committee between the two bodies to iron out differences. Speaking at a press conference this morning, House Finance co-chair Dan Sadler says he is prepared for a conference committee.
I'm looking forward to the next process. One thing I'm looking forward to being resolved in the conference committee is the $30 million in behavioral treatment grants that we put in on the House side. We've heard clearly that there is a problem with opioid addiction, and of course Alaska has high rates of alcoholism and drug abuse. I think it's appropriate to fill in gaps in the system, and I'm pleased to have that money, at least in our version of the budget, so I'm hoping that comes out in the wash.
While the legislature works through cuts to the budget, lawmakers have also vowed to look at ways to increase state revenue in the face of sagging oil prices. However, Revenue Commissioner Randall Fbx says he doesn't think a bill to reinstate a personal state income tax in Alaska will move in the legislature this session. The bill is one of several proposed by Governor Bill Walker as part of a plan to address the state's multi-billion-dollar budget deficit. Fbx says Walker still thinks it's important and that the administration will continue to push it, but he says it hasn't gotten much interest from legislators so far. U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan of Alaska continues to gain reassurance that the U.S. Army will retain the 425th IBCT at J-Bear. Last summer, the Army announced troop reductions that included the drawdown of 2,600 soldiers from the base. Working with the rest of Alaska's congressional delegation, Senator Sullivan, as a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, has championed the effort to fully retain the 425th in Alaska as a critically strategic national security asset for the nation. Sullivan claims Russia's aggressive behavior, China's coercive island building, and North Korea's recent destabilizing nuclear and missile tests make the nation's force posture in the Arctic and the Pacific all the more important. Speaking before the Senate Armed Services Committee today, Secretary of Defense Ash Carter confirmed that he would support the Army's new recommendation to keep the 425th in Alaska because he understands the importance of the strategic capability.
With respect to the 425, I looked into that after our conversation. I've spoken to General Milley. If he makes that recommendation to me, I want you to know I'm going to approve that.
Thank you.
And I think that is an important part of our force posture in the Pacific.
One of the final guest speakers to speak on the last day of the Tanana Chiefs Conference was Michael Johnson, who is the Senior Advisor for Alaska Affairs to the Secretary of the Interior. Johnson filled in for Secretary of the Interior Sally Jewell, who was originally supposed to speak and receive thanks for her role in signing the order that officially changed the name of Mount McKinley to Denali. Johnson's three key points in his speech were the symbol of respect towards native rural Alaskans, subsistence, and the newly updated fish and wildlife policy. Johnson heard a few concerns and feedback from rural Alaskans regarding subsistence, land, and trust, and how some Alaskans felt there wasn't enough communication to help deal with the issues that affect Alaska natives. Johnson concluded his speech by stressing the importance of better communication and having federal agencies work more effectively with Alaska natives.
We heard a lot of concerns today where people are saying, we have a changing climate, we have concerns about our fish runs, we have a lot of forest fires, more so than we used to. They're more frequent, they're bigger, new temperatures, it's not as cold as it used to be. It's hard to survey moose because we've had years with very little snow on the ground. Just a lot of those issues of how we help manage and make sure that we have these important animals and subsistence resources be carried into the future so that people can, fill their freezer, fill their stomach, and continue the way of life that they want to have.
When we come back, there wasn't good news today from the Association of General Contractors of Alaska as they announced that 3,000 jobs could be lost for workers. Also in this week's Interior-tainment, just in time for the St. Patrick's Day weekend, is a Celtic group that will be performing this weekend. Stay with us. And welcome back. The wife of an Alaska state trooper who was shot to death in the line of duty is lobbying state lawmakers for families of the fallen. Sergeant Scott Johnson was shot to death in Tanana along with Trooper Gabe Rich. Johnson's wife, Brandy, says the family's health insurance was canceled just weeks after Trooper Johnson was killed, and the same happened with the family of Trooper Rich. Under current state policy, family members of law enforcement officers who die on the job lose coverage at the end of the month in which the policyholder dies. Brandy Johnson took the issue to then Governor Sean Parnell, and it is now being worked on by House Majority Leader Sharice Millett of Anchorage. An 18-year-old Fairbanks woman has been ordered to do 150 hours of community service work after a judge found her in contempt of court. 18-year-old Madeline Smith had been selected to serve on a jury in the case of a man charged with failure to stop at the order of a peace officer. After the trial ended, the case was given to the jury. Smith is accused of walking out of the deliberations and leaving the courthouse after talking with Judge Michael McConaughey. Judicial officers were reportedly sent to find her, but when they couldn't, the judge declared a mistrial in the case. Alaska construction jobs are expected to take a major hit this year, according to a report from the Associated General Contractors of Alaska. There are about 18,000 construction workers in the state. AGC predicts 3,000 of those jobs could be lost in 2016. Alaska was one of the just 6 states that didn't see growth to its construction industry from January 2015 to January 2016. State economist Neil Freed said the downturn in construction is not surprising, given the oil and gas industry's close ties to the rest of the state's economy.
Most other states, because of the strong economic recovery and continued growth in most of the states, construction is doing quite well. Us and most of the other states that were down towards the bottom were energy producing states, whether it was oil, gas, or even that, for that matter, coal. And most of those states, including Alaska, the outlook for construction was either much slower or was actually experiencing or they believed would experience declines.
Today is the 17th, which means it's St. Patrick's Day. And here's Mike Schultz with a way you can celebrate the season into the weekend on tonight's Interiortainment.
Everywhere you look, you're reminded of the day, whether it's the color green or through the name itself. The Fairbanks Concert Association wants you to continue to celebrate the spirit with a unique concert Saturday evening at the Herring Auditorium with the Celtic group Solace. The band was here last year, and Executive Director for the Fairbanks Concert Association, Ann Biberman, says the performance they put on Saturday night will put you in the perfect mood.
This is a big deal. And for us, we've had Solace here before, so we're looking forward to seeing old friends, reconnecting ties. Plus, it's St. Patrick's Day. And what a big deal. When we discovered that we could book Solace for St. Patrick's Day weekend, well, we rearranged the entire rest of the FCA season.
I'm Seamus Egan. I play the banjo, mandolin, flute, whistle.
Well, hello. Hi. Howdy. And happy St. Patrick's Day to you all.
Solace started in 1996. The reaction was really good, and then we decided just to make an album, and that got really positive feedback, and then suddenly we said, well, we're a band. So we really never had a plan of making any more than one album, and that was really it, and now 15 years later.
What better way to celebrate the St. Patrick's Day weekend? Tickets are on sale at fairbanksconcertassociation.org, or you can pick them up at Grassroots Guitar on College Road. Mike Schultz reporting.
Thank you. That's Interiortainment, brought to you by Midnight Sun Family Medicine.
Coming up in sports, Joe Cook checks in with the Fairbanks Ice Dogs, who are smoking hot and will have their last games of the year at home. Also, you'll see some North American basketball tournament highlights and Open North start info after the break.
Hello, Interior Alaska. Joe Cook here with your local Thursday Sportscast. Friday afternoon will be the start of the GCI Open North American Championships. This year's field of 23 will have champions from the present and the distant past. Mushers drew their bibs last night. John Earhart will be the first musher out on the Jeff Studdert race grounds tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Nikki Sayo drew second, and Mike Fields will be third. Jesse Holmes is number 13. Three-time ONAC winner Roxy Wright ends her 20-year retirement and will be the 14th musher out. Defending champion Buddy Streeper drew number 18. Teams will have 3 heats. The first 2 days will be 20-and-a-quarter-mile courses. The last day will be a 28-mile route. The purse is $40,000 with $7,200 going to first place. Fairbanks Ice Dogs return to the comforts of their billet beds in the Big Dipper Ice Arena to end the regular season. After winning their last 4 road games of the season, the Ice Dogs come into this weekend's home series against Wilkes-Barre on an 11-game win streak. This current streak is the best by any team this season, and it's their second streak of 8 or more wins. They will close the 2015-2016 season with a 7-game homestand. Right now, Fairbanks has clinched the Midwest Division title and has a 9-point lead in the overall league standings. 7-game homestand, 43 wins already, so do the math. If they win out, they can get 50 wins and set a new NAHL record. The head coach Trevor Stewart is more worried about win number 44 on Friday night against their East Division foe rather than the Big 5-0.
You know, what we're playing for right now is just to get better and prepare for playoffs. So, and this team coming in, they just find ways to win games. After the first 15 or 20 games, they're a 500 club, and they just find ways to split over weekends. And we got to make sure that we're not giving them that opportunity on Friday night.
Everybody's doing what they need to do, and goalies are playing well, D are playing well, and just forwards are scoring. So we're doing really well right now.
Just the thought of us being able to finish our last 3 weeks here is kind of nice. And now, since we clinched the division, we're starting playoffs here too. So it's going to be a good feeling to play home in front of the dip, in front of our fans.
At the Patty Center gym, the compete level was high on the first day of the UIC North American Basketball Tournament. 3 brackets start today with women's, men's, and masters first round games of the double elimination tourney. Fort Yukon River Warriors and Caribou Hood battled earlier this afternoon. Caribou had a 6-point lead after number 3s in the second half. Fort Yukon, they would mount a comeback in the last 3 minutes with a big run led by Zach Carroll. He finished with 30 points. His and one play on the second chance opportunity gave Fort Yukon a 61-59 lead. The Warriors would complete the comeback and win 64-59. Carroll, a Fort Yukon native and Army vet, gives insight on why this tournament is not only one of the best for competition, but it's a way of life.
I mean, it's important because, you know, a lot of the rural villages here, basketball is the only sport that they have, and I know, you know, Fort Yukon, that's all we had. You know, they just had track, I believe, last year, but, you know, basketball is tradition in Alaska for all the Native people. I just wanted to see it thrive and, you know, help all the Native youth growing up. You know, it's important. Basketball is important for a lot of Native kids. So, I mean, everybody here I've seen play. You know, my dad's won several championships here. I love basketball. Good competition. I love the competition. That's what makes me play well.
You may have seen Yale upset Baylor today, the NCAA tournament bracket buster. For me, March Madness also hit Alaska today. In the first round of the boys 2A state tournament, the Unalakleet Wolfpack upsets the defending champion Glen Allen Panthers 57-53. Artik Ivanov had a game-high 19 points for Unalakleet. They led 7-18 at the end of the first quarter, and they held off Glen Allen in the fourth. The number 1 seed, Nenana Lynx girls team, they won their first round game against Unalakleet 49-23, led by Kristen Morey's game-high 18 points. And this Saturday, aspiring baseball and softball players will have a chance to learn from some of the best players and coaches you can find. The Carlson Center will be the site of the 2nd annual Instructional Baseball Softball Clinic. Bobby Bell, a former Miami Marlins hitting coach, returns to the interior. Joining him is former Arizona State catcher and All-American Amber Freeman and Lauren Hager. Hager is a former pitcher for the Florida Gators and has over 70 home runs and 70 wins in her career. She and Babe Ruth are the only players to do that. How about that? And Joe LaFerry, a New York Yankees scout, will also be at the clinic. The clinic is from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday at the Carlson. K through 6th grade go from 9 to 11:30, and 7th grades and up go from 12:30 to 4. The cost is $20. And that's a wrap for sports tonight. Thanks for watching. Mike Schultz is next with your full weather forecast, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey everyone, welcome back into a Thursday night weather. Mike Schultz with you once again. And what a beautiful day it was across the interior today. Lots of sunshine, beautiful blue skies, a few scattered snow showers here and there. But what a difference a day makes, because yesterday it was ugly, obviously pretty ugly, gray, snowy. Today, just gorgeous. Tonight on the weather, we're going to be talking about quite a few different things. In fact, colder temperatures are expected to move in tonight. In fact, overnight lows could be near 20 below. Excuse me. And as far as tomorrow, snow would be developing again by late tomorrow night. That will continue into Saturday. But look what's happening Sunday. Temperatures warm to the low 40s on Sunday. Amazing. We'll tell you more about that in just a little bit. Speaking of temperatures, right now, 17 degrees. Our high today, 16 at the airport. The overnight low last night, 15 below. Record high, 46, 1981. 41 below in 1964. Sunrise and sunset, exactly 12 hours of daylight. That's a gain of 7 minutes from yesterday. Well, here's what's going on the satellite and radar. And it's pretty interesting, too. You can see this big mass of moisture here. It's slowly working its way up from the south to the north. And as that moves across the interior, it's going to be an awkward situation because while cold air coming in from the northwest and the warmer moisture will be running over the top of it, and that'll be giving us a chance of some snow starting tomorrow night into Saturday. And right now, it looks like it could be maybe some measurable snowfall. We'll have to keep an eye on that because there is a potential for some decent snowfall. Definitely going to be snowing heavily on the eastern side of the state, maybe 1 to 2 feet in some of the mountain ranges there, so keep that in mind if you're heading that direction. As far as what's going on across the state today, you can see Ketchikan, 44 degrees, partly cloudy skies, showers, rain around the Juneau area, 43. Anchorage, sunny, 34 degrees, but clouds are on the increase. They're expecting snow later on tonight. Kodiak, some showers, 40 degrees, Cold Bay, 34, and cloudy. Cooler air on the west side once again, 20 degrees at Bethel, 12 degrees at Nome. And north of the Brooks Range, 4 degrees below zero at Barrow with Fort Yukon, 12 degrees and lots of sunshine. Lower 48 weather, nothing happening on the west coast. Very nice weather up and down there. A few areas of snow moving across the northern plains. Nothing really heavy until you get down to the south where they're getting some very heavy rainfall across the southern sections of the country around parts of Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia. We've got to keep an eye on that because that could bring some flooding, unfortunately. And as far as the jet stream is concerned, once again, it's expected to take a big drop down to the south over the weekend, helping to bring more rain into the eastern half of the country. They don't need, just the opposite on the west coast. Things are looking pretty good. Speaking of rain, on our weather fact tonight, we're going to be talking about in 1990, Mobile, Alabama, the city received over 11 inches of rain in a 24-hour period. Just some of the flooding that was going on there, incredible amounts of rainfall in a very short period of time. And again, thanks to Mount McKinley Bank for sponsoring our kids' weather. And speaking of the kids, they'll be with us next week from Northern Lights Academy. Okay, here's your forecast. Across the northern sections tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies for Barrow, sunny skies in Nome, and some snow by evening in the Fort Yukon area. Here in the interior, we'll be looking at sunshine to begin with, but then snow will be developing in Delta Junction, spreading to Healy and Fairbanks by late evening. Over southeast Alaska, we're looking at mostly cloudy skies at Juneau, just partly cloudy skies at Ketchikan. They'll have the best weather in the state. Over the southwest part of the state, looking at a chance of rain at Cold Bay and sunny skies in Bethel with rain expected for Kodiak. And down around the Anchorage Bowl, like I said before, snow is expected to develop by noon at Anchorage, cloudy skies in Homer, and 3 to 5 inches of snow for Valdez. It's a Thursday night, time for our final edition of our road conditions, brought to you by the good folks at Mongold Insurance and Jose Body and Paint. We thank them for sponsoring our road conditions this winter. And again, on the Dalton Elliott highways, icy patches, melting snow, and snow on the roadway. Now, if you're heading on the Steeson-Richardson Highway, snow will be developing by evening, reducing visibility, and there could be some heavy snow, especially on the eastern side of the state, like I said before. And over the Parks Highway, icy patches with some snow on the road and also some black ice, so keep that in mind. And our forecast for the remainder of the night, considerably colder with a few clouds, even some auroras are possible. We're about a Category 4 right now, 16 below at the airport, but close to 20 below in the low-lying areas. Tomorrow's forecast, 16 above, with increasing clouds with snow developing late. And the extended forecast, look at the temperature on Sunday, 43, and even warm on Monday, 42 degrees. The winds are going to come out of the south at the upper levels. That's what's bringing that warm air up from the south. That's why it's such a radical change. So we're going to get snow on Saturday and then be really warm on Sunday. And look at those overnight lows also warming up to 10 degrees above zero for the overnight lows. Here's our photograph for tonight. This one is a sunset through the trees taken by Danielle Walker. And as always, if you have a photograph to share, send it to photos@ktvf11.com.
Very green time.
43 degrees
Yeah,
on Sunday.
that sounds
Wow.
great. Springtime. All right, springtime almost.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. That'll wrap up this edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. We are glad you could join us.
Got green on?
Yep.
Okay, all right. That will do it for us. Again, tonight on NBC Nightly News, an alleged American ISIS fighter spoke out today after being captured in Iraq. That's up next with Lester Holt.
Be sure and tune in tomorrow morning during the Today Show with J.R. Lewis for more news updates right here on Channel 11.
From all of us here at the News Center, happy St. Patrick's Day. Have a good night.
Good night.